Reptile Robbo here with Kevin. This week's adventure is going to take us to Independence, California, a quaint little town along Highway 395. The first stop in Independence is going to be the Independence Cemetery. This is a cemetery where my grandparents are buried, Bill and Maud Kemp. A very beautiful place to be laid to rest. The view of the Western Sierras is just spectacular. Also buried here is Georgie May Calvert. She is my great-grandmother and the daughter of George and Mary Calvert. George and Mary Calvert have a legacy that includes Lake Mary and Lake George being named after them in the Mammoth Lakes area. This is a photo of the iconic Inyo County Courthouse. This courthouse is where they brought Manson when they found him and his crew out in Death Valley. Oh, Kevin and I made it to the Russell Fleming cabin. Out of Mazurka Canyon, out of Independence. We're the only ones here, so we'll be able to use the cabin as a little shelter for cooking. You could sleep in it if you wanted to, but we have trucks that have rooftop tents, so we're good there. Kind of the ironic thing about this cabin, Russ Fleming, is a kid that I used to play with when I was a kid in Independence, California. That's where he was born and raised, and my grandparents lived in Independence, so they would put me on a bus. My parents would put me on a bus in the San Fernando Valley every summer, and it would drop me off in Independence, and I'd get picked up by my grandfather or my uncle, and I'd get to hang out in Independence, ride mini bikes, fishing, shooting BB guns, exploring with the local kids. Russ Fleming was one of those kids. Really, really nice guy. So I'm glad he's got a cabin kind of dedicated in his honor. The cabin is very well kept. Has a nice shade tree out front, as well as a picnic bench and a nice fire pit and a wonderful view of the Western Sierras. So we had a very pleasant night sleeping at Russ Fleming cabin out of Mazurka Canyon. The morning sunlight, the way that it hits the Western Sierras is just spectacular. I'll throw a few photos up. So for today's adventure, what we have planned is a hike that goes up past the cabin here and into the mountains. I've never been there before, but I think it's about a little over 3 mile round trip. I believe the elevation is what the killer is. It's quite steep, but we'll give it a go and see if there's anything fun or exciting to share with you guys. So the hike so far has been pretty epic. We started in Mazurka Canyon near Independence, came up over the ridge, and I actually can see a great shot of Death Valley. Kind of curious if there's a route that you could get to Death Valley from here. I'm guessing it would be a lot of cross country, but there it is, Death Valley in the distance. I also stumbled across a little spring here. So here's the spring on the side of a hill. A couple little pools where deer or coyote, wildlife could get a sip of water. It's pretty crazy. There's Death Valley out there. Here's another good shot of the canyon running into Death Valley. I'll have to see where it comes out down there. on the map when I get back to the car, do a little reconnaissance to see where it comes out. Be interesting. So it looks like this is where the trail tops out at about 9,400 feet in a very nice meadow. Little military action above. Yeah, so it's a beautiful meadow with quite a bit of snow on it. And where it peaks out about 9,400 feet, you actually start to descend into the Death Valley area. Oh, beautiful day. This hike is on all trails, at least the dotted line. I'm not sure if it has a name or not. When I get back to having reception, I'll have to check it out. But so far, a beautiful day. Reptile Rabo at 9,200 feet. And of course, I see a snake. This one's not alive, but it's very cool because it's almost mummified. It's not the whole snake. I can see the tail, so I know for sure it's not a rattlesnake. But check this guy out. When I first saw it, I thought maybe it was somebody's joke rubber snake that they brought up here, but that didn't make much sense. So when I got closer and picked it up, I realized it was an actual mummified snake. The markings don't look familiar at all, so I'll have to check with my buddy Jason, who's a herpetologist, to see what kind of snake he might think it would be. But I'm guessing at 9,200 feet, you're maxing out where snakes, reptiles would live. So I'll do a little. Here's the profile of the hike on Strava. Turned out to be 7.1 miles with about 2,700 feet of elevation gain. So we just pulled up to one of my favorite spots to camp in the eastern Sierras, up Mazurka Canyon. Beautiful backdrops. There's the western Sierras behind me, all snow covered. It's an incredible place, and usually there's nobody else out here, which is always a big plus. So we jumped back over on the west side of the 395 and spent our last night camping by Shepherd's Creek. Beautiful location. Even took a cold plunge. Kevin and Rob saying cheers. Now get out there and do some exploring.